My wife called Dad during intimacy and found out why. The truth destroyed everything I knew about marriage. My name is Daniel and I am 34 years old. My wife Lee is 32. We have been together since college, so about 15 years in total, and married for 5 of those years. We always seemed like the golden couple, you know. Everyone told us how perfect we were for each other, how happy we looked. And honestly, for a long time I thought we were. We had our ups and downs, like any couple, but nothing major, nothing that made me question our relationship. We had a nice house, good jobs, a comfortable life. We talked about kids someday, maybe in a year or two. Everything felt stable, normal, maybe too normal looking back. Anyway, this all started about 6 months ago. It was a pretty ordinary Tuesday night. We were in bed, being intimate, and in the heat of the moment, Lee called me Dad. Yeah, you read that right. Dad. I froze, like completely froze. It was so out of left field, so weird. It wasn't something she had ever said before, not even jokingly. We definitely didn't have that kind of dynamic. I mean, we were equals, partners, not father and daughter. It just felt wrong, deeply unsettling. I stopped what we were doing and just looked at her. She seemed flustered, her cheeks flushed. She mumbled something about being tired and maybe not thinking straight. She tried to laugh it off, saying it was just a silly mistake, a slip of the tongue. But it didn't feel like a mistake. It felt intentional, or at least like it came from somewhere deep inside her subconscious. I tried to play it cool at first. I told her it was okay, just a little strange, and maybe we should just go to sleep. But my mind was racing. Dad, where did that even come from? I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, seriously off. The next day I couldn't stop thinking about it. It was like a little seed of doubt had been planted in my brain, and it was starting to sprout. I replayed the moment over and over in my head, trying to make sense of it. Was it just a random word, or was there something more to it? I started paying closer attention to Lee. Watching her, listening to her, trying to see if there were any other clues, any other signs that something was going on. And honestly, I didn't find anything concrete at first. She seemed like her usual self. Going to work, coming home, cooking dinner, watching TV. But I couldn't shake this feeling that something was different, something was hidden beneath the surface. I know, it sounds paranoid, but that one word, Dad, had unlocked something in me. A sense of unease, a feeling that I didn't really know my own wife as well as I thought I did. And Reddit, you know how you can spiral down these rabbit holes sometimes. Well, I started Googling things like why would my wife call me Dad, and unusual things wives say, and yeah, it wasn't great for my anxiety levels. Some of the stuff I read was pretty disturbing, hinting at psychological issues or other things. One thing that kept popping up was the idea of daddy issues. Now, I know it's a bit of a cliché, but I started thinking about Lee's relationship with her own father. He had passed away when she was in college, and it was a really tough time for her. She was very close to him. Could it be something related to that? Maybe some unresolved grief or something. It still felt like a stretch, but it was the only thing I could think of that even remotely made sense. But then another thought crept into my mind. Infidelity. Could she be seeing someone else? Could Dad be some kind of nickname for another man? I hated even thinking about it. Lee, cheating on me, it seemed impossible. We had such a strong relationship, or so I thought. We were so open and honest with each other, or so I believed. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and it was growing fast. I started noticing little things that I might have overlooked before. Lee was spending more time on her phone, always with the screen facing away from me. She was going out more with her friends, but she was vague about where she was going and who she was with. She started being less affectionate with me, less interested in intimacy. These were all small things, subtle changes, but they started to add up. And the more I thought about it, the more suspicious I became. I know, I was probably being a bit of an asshole, jumping to conclusions. But that word Dad just kept echoing in my head, so I did something I'm not proud of. I snooped. Yeah, I went through her phone. I know Reddit will probably roast me for this, but I was desperate. I needed to know the truth, one way or another. I waited until she was asleep and then I carefully took her phone from her nightstand. It was password protected, of course, but I know her birthday, so I tried that, and it worked. Seriously, her password was her birthday. That felt lazy. Like she wasn't really trying to hide anything, or maybe she was just too careless to think about it. Anyway, I was in. Her phone was open and I started scrolling through her messages. Mostly just boring stuff, texts from her friends, work emails, social media notifications. Nothing suspicious at first. But then I found it. A messaging app I didn't recognize. something called Signal. I had heard of it before. It's supposed to be encrypted and private. Why was Lee using Signal? She's not exactly a secret agent or anything. I opened the app and there was only one contact listed, a name I didn't recognize. Mark S. My heart started pounding in my chest. Who was Mark S.? And why were they communicating through a secret messaging app? I clicked on the conversation and the messages loaded. And then, oh my God, read it. My blood ran cold. The messages were explicit, like really explicit. They were talking about sex, about meeting up, about everything you don't want to read when you're looking at your wife's phone. And the messages weren't just recent. They went back months. This had been going on for a long time. And then I saw something that made my stomach drop even further. In one of the messages, Lee called Mark Daddy, not Dad, Daddy, but still the same implication, the same disturbing paternal undertone. I scrolled back further in the conversation trying to find out who this Mark S. guy was, and then I saw it, a picture, Mark S. profile picture, and I almost dropped the phone, because it wasn't Mark S., it was Kevin. My best friend. My wife was having an affair with my best friend. Kevin, the guy I had known since high school, the guy who was supposed to be like a brother to me. Kevin, I felt like I had been punched in the gut, betrayal, disgust, rage. It was all swirling inside me, a toxic cocktail of emotions. My wife and my best friend sleeping together, lying to me, behind my back for months. I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was going to throw up. I slammed Lee's phone back onto the nightstand and stumbled out of the bedroom. I needed air. I needed to get out of that house. I walked out into the night, just wandered aimlessly through the streets, my mind completely numb. How could this be happening? Lee and Kevin. It made no sense. I mean, I knew Lee and Kevin were friendly, they got along well, but I never suspected anything romantic between them. Kevin was always respectful. He always seemed to like me, to be a good friend. And Lee, she always seemed happy with me, or so I thought. I spent hours walking just trying to process what I had just discovered. By the time I finally went back home, it was almost dawn. Lee was still asleep. I went into the bedroom and just stared at her, sleeping peacefully, completely oblivious to the bomb I had just discovered. How could she sleep so soundly knowing what she was doing, knowing the lies she was living? I didn't sleep at all that night. I just lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the messages in my head. Daddy, Kevin, Signal. It was like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. The next morning, Lee woke up and acted like nothing was wrong. She smiled at me, kissed me good morning, asked me how I slept. It was surreal, like she was living in a completely different reality than me. Did she really think she could just keep this up forever? Did she think I would never find out? I decided I couldn't pretend anymore. I had to confront her, but I also knew I needed to be careful. I didn't want to just explode and say something I would regret. I wanted to get the truth out of her, to understand why she had done this. So I waited until we were having breakfast, just the two of us. I tried to keep my voice calm, even though I was shaking inside. Lee, I said, we need to talk. She looked up from her cereal, a little surprised. Talk? About what? She asked, her voice innocent, too innocent. About last night, I said, about what you said to me in bed. Her eyes widened slightly, but she still tried to play dumb. Last night? What did I say? You called me Dad, I said, my voice getting a little louder. Do you remember that? She laughed nervously. Oh, that. Yeah, I remember. It was just a joke, Daniel. Don't take it so seriously. A joke, I said, my voice rising even more. Lee, it didn't sound like a joke. It sounded weird, disturbing. And frankly, it's not the only weird thing that's been going on lately. She put down her spoon and looked at me, her eyes narrowing slightly. What are you talking about? I'm talking about your phone, Lee, I said. I'm talking about the secret messaging app. I'm talking about Mark S. Her face went white. All the color drained out of it. She knew I knew. The game was up. Daniel, she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. I can explain. Explain what, Lee? I said, my voice cold now. Explain why you're having an affair with my best friend. Explain why you're calling him Daddy in your secret messages. Explain why you've been lying to me for months. Tears started welling up in her eyes. It's not like that, she said, her voice trembling. It's complicated. I scoffed. Cheating on your husband with his best friend is complicated. No, Lee, it's not complicated. It's betrayal. It's disgusting. It's the most hurtful thing you could possibly do. She started crying now, full-on sobbing. I'm sorry, Daniel, she cried. I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. But you did hurt me, Lee, I said, my voice still cold but now tinged with pain. You hurt me more than you can possibly imagine. I trusted you. I loved you. And you threw it all away for him. She didn't say anything. She just kept crying, her face buried in her hands. I stood up from the table, feeling numb and empty. I need to go to work, I said, my voice flat. We'll talk about this later. I walked out of the house, leaving her there, sobbing at the breakfast table. I didn't know what to do, what to think, what to feel. My whole world had just been turned upside down. My marriage, my friendship, my entire life, it was all a lie. I went to work, but I couldn't focus on anything. My mind was still reeling from the shock of what I had discovered. I kept replaying the conversation with Lee in my head, trying to make sense of it. It's complicated. What did that even mean? How could she possibly justify this? I knew I needed to talk to someone. I thought about calling my brother or my parents, but I couldn't bring myself to tell them yet. It was too raw, too painful. And honestly, I was embarrassed. Embarrassed that my wife had cheated on me. Embarrassed that I had been so blind, so clueless. Then I thought of Reddit. Yeah, Reddit. The place where you can anonymously pour your heart out to strangers and get brutally honest advice. I had seen so many relationship advice posts on Reddit before. Maybe they could help me. Maybe they could give me some perspective, some guidance. So, during my lunch break, I created a throwaway account and wrote a post. I told the whole story, from Lee calling me dad to finding the messages to confronting her. I didn't hold anything back. I just laid it all out there, raw and unfiltered. And then I ended with a simple question. Reddit, what would you do? I hit submit, and then I closed my laptop and went back to work, trying to forget about it. But of course, I couldn't forget. My mind was still consumed by Lee and Kevin, by the betrayal, by the pain. Later that evening after work, I checked Reddit again. And oh my God, Reddit had responded. My post had blown up. Hundreds of comments, thousands of upvotes. People were actually reading my story, reacting to it, giving me advice. It was overwhelming, but also strangely comforting. Most of the comments were supportive, sympathetic. People were telling me I wasn't an asshole, that I was right to be angry, that Lee and Kevin were both terrible people. Some people were sharing their own stories of infidelity, of betrayal, of heartbreak. It was like a virtual support group for betrayed spouses. And the advice? Oh, the advice. Reddit didn't hold back. Divorce her was the overwhelming consensus. She's a cheater, a liar, and she betrayed you with your best friend. There's no coming back from that. Lawyer up, hit the gym, delete Facebook. You know, the usual Reddit relationship advice. But there were also some more nuanced comments. Some people suggested I try to understand why Lee did it. Maybe there was something missing in our relationship. Maybe she was unhappy. Maybe there was a reason behind the dad thing, beyond just a kinky nickname. I read through all the comments, trying to absorb everything, trying to make sense of it all. And slowly I started to feel a little bit better, a little bit less alone. Reddit had validated my feelings, had confirmed that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't overreacting, and that was helpful. I knew divorce was probably the most logical option, but a part of me still wanted to understand. Why, Lee, why? Why did you do this? What was missing? What went wrong? When I got home that night, Lee was still there. She was sitting on the couch, looking pale and miserable. She looked up when I came in, her eyes red and puffy. Daniel, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Can we talk? We need to talk, I corrected her, my voice still cold but maybe a little less harsh than before. I sat down on the opposite end of the couch, keeping my distance. So explain it to me, Lee. Explain why you did this. She sighed and started talking. And what she told me, well, it was even more messed up than I could have imagined. She started talking about her father. About how close they were, how much she loved him. About how his death had affected her, how she had never really gotten over it. She said that after he died, she felt lost, like a part of her was missing. And then she met me. And I was good to her, kind, supportive. But she said I wasn't like her father. I wasn't dominant enough. I wasn't in charge. She said she craved that kind of relationship, that kind of dynamic. A father figure, someone to take care of her, to tell her what to do. And then she met Kevin. And Kevin was more like her father, more assertive, more confident, more alpha, and she was attracted to that. She said it started innocently enough, just flirting, just talking. But then it escalated, and before she knew it, they were sleeping together. And the daddy thing, that was part of it too. She said calling Kevin daddy was exciting for her. It fulfilled some kind of need, some kind of fantasy. It was twisted, messed up, but that's what she said. I listened to her story, my mind reeling. Daddy issues, seriously. Was that really the reason she cheated on me? Because I wasn't dominant enough. It sounded ridiculous, pathetic. And yet, as she was talking, I started to see a twisted kind of logic to it. It didn't excuse her behavior, not even close. But it maybe explained it a little bit. "So let me get this straight," I said when she was finished, my voice incredulous. "You cheated on me with my best friend because you have daddy issues, because I'm not enough of a father figure for you." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "It sounds crazy, I know," she sobbed. "But it's true. I'm so messed up, Daniel." "I'm so sorry. Messed up is an understatement, Lee," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "You're not just messed up, you're cruel, you're selfish. You've destroyed everything we had for some twisted fantasy about your father." I know," she cried. "Please, Daniel, can you ever forgive me? Can we work through this? I'll go to therapy, I'll do anything. Just please don't leave me." I looked at her, really looked at her. And I saw not the woman I thought I knew, but a stranger. A damaged, broken person who had betrayed me in the most profound way possible. And in that moment I knew, there was no going back. There was no fixing this. The trust was gone. The love was gone. Everything was gone. "No, Lee," I said, my voice firm. "I can't forgive you. I can't work through this. It's over. I want a divorce." Her sobbing intensified. She begged me, pleaded with me, promised me anything. But my mind was made up. I was done. Done with the lies, done with the betrayal, done with her. The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers, paperwork, and painful conversations. We told our families, our friends. Everyone was shocked, devastated, especially about Kevin. The betrayal with him was almost worse than the affair itself. He had stabbed me in the back in the most cowardly way possible. I confronted Kevin, of course. I called him, and we met up in a park. I just wanted to hear his side of the story, to understand why he had done this. But his explanation was even more pathetic than Lee's. He said he was lonely, that he had always been jealous of my relationship with Lee. He said he never meant for it to go this far, it just happened. Just happened. I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "You just happened to start sleeping with my wife. You just happened to betray your best friend in the most despicable way possible." He mumbled something about being sorry, about making a mistake. But it sounded hollow, insincere. I didn't believe him. I didn't want to believe him. He was weak, pathetic, and a terrible friend. I told him I never wanted to see him again, and I walked away. That was the end of our friendship, our brotherhood. Gone just like that. Destroyed by his lust and his weakness. The divorce was finalized a few months later. It was painful, expensive, and emotionally draining, but it was also liberating. Once it was over, I felt a sense of relief, of freedom. I was finally free from Lee's lies, from her betrayal, from her twisted world. Reddit was amazing through all of this. My original post got even more attention, and I posted updates as things progressed. People were so supportive, so encouraging. They gave me advice, they offered virtual hugs, they even sent me funny memes to cheer me up. Reddit, you guys are the best. And then something unexpected happened. Remember how I said Lee's password was her birthday? Well, after the divorce was finalized, I was going through some old boxes, and I found an old photo album. Pictures from when Lee and I first started dating, back in college. And in one of the pictures, Lee was holding up her driver's license, just goofing around, you know. But her license was visible in the picture, and out of curiosity I zoomed in on the picture just to see her birth date. And Reddit, you are not going to believe this. Her birth date, it was wrong. It was off by a day. Her password, her birthday password that I had used to access her phone, it wasn't her actual birthday. It was her father's birthday. I was stunned. Her password wasn't her birthday, it was her dad's birthday. The man she had daddy issues about. The man she had been subconsciously comparing me to. The man she had been trying to replace with Kevin. It was like a final, twisted piece of the puzzle clicking into place. Her whole obsession with her father, her daddy issues, it wasn't just some psychological quirk. It was central to her identity. It was the key to understanding everything she had done. And in a weird way, it made me feel less angry, less betrayed, because it wasn't really about me. It wasn't about my shortcomings, about me not being dominant enough. It was about her unresolved grief, about her messed up relationship with her father. She was broken long before she met me, and she used me and Kevin and everyone around her to try to fix herself. And it didn't work, it just made things worse. So where am I now? Well, I'm divorced. Heartbroken, yes, but also healing. I'm going to therapy, I'm working on myself, I'm trying to move on. I've cut off all contact with Lee and Kevin. I don't want them in my life anymore. They are toxic, destructive people, and I'm better off without them. I'm focusing on my friends, my family, my career. I'm rediscovering hobbies I had forgotten about. I'm starting to feel like myself again, the person I was before Lee, before the betrayal, before the heartbreak. It's not easy, Reddit, it's going to take time. But I'm getting there. I'm stronger than I thought I was. And I'm grateful for all the support I've received, from my friends, my family, and especially from you, Reddit. You helped me through the darkest time of my life. Thank you. Update 1. Wow, Reddit, my phone has been blowing up with notifications since I posted this. I honestly didn't expect so many people to read my story, let alone comment on it. Thank you all for your support, your advice, and your virtual hugs. It really means a lot. A lot of people have been asking for updates, so here's a little bit more about what's been going on since the divorce. Firstly, I wanted to address some of the comments about Kevin. Yes, he's a terrible friend. Yes, he's a coward. Yes, he deserves everything that's coming to him, and apparently, things are not going so great for him. Word has gotten around about what he did, and he's lost a lot of friends. Mutual friends of ours have cut him off, and even some of his own friends are disgusted by his behavior. He's become a bit of a pariah in our social circle, which, honestly, he deserves. Karma is a bitch, right, Reddit? As for Lee, I haven't spoken to her directly since the divorce was finalized, but I've heard through mutual acquaintances that she's not doing well. Apparently, she's been struggling with the fallout from the divorce, both emotionally and socially. Our friends are not exactly sympathetic to her, and her family is pretty disappointed in her too. I heard she tried to reach out to Kevin again, but he apparently ghosted her. Figures. He's probably moved on to his next victim by now. Honestly, I don't feel any satisfaction in their misery. Okay, maybe a little bit, but mostly I just feel indifferent. They made their choices, and they are now living with the consequences. I'm focusing on my own life, on my own healing. And I'm actually starting to feel happy again. Imagine that. I've started dating again, very casually, nothing serious. Just putting myself out there, meeting new people. It's scary and exciting and a little bit awkward, but also fun. It's nice to feel like I'm moving forward, like I'm not defined by what happened with Lee. I've also taken up a new hobby. I started rock climbing. Yeah, totally random, I know, but it's been amazing. It's challenging, it's physical, it's mentally engaging. And it's a great way to release stress and anger. Plus, the climbing gym is full of hot people, so bonus. Seriously though, rock climbing has been really therapeutic. It's taught me about resilience, about perseverance, about pushing myself beyond my limits. And it's helped me to feel strong again, both physically and emotionally. So yeah, things are looking up, Reddit. I'm not going to say I'm completely over it yet. There are still days when I think about Lee, about Kevin, about the betrayal. But those days are becoming fewer and further between. And I'm starting to see a future for myself, a future that doesn't involve them, a future that is actually bright. Thank you again for all your support. You guys are the best. I'll keep you updated if anything else interesting happens. But for now, I'm just going to keep climbing, keep healing, and keep moving forward. Wish me luck. Update 2. Okay, Reddit, you guys are not going to believe this. Remember how I said things were looking up? Well, they just got even better, like revenge level better. And it's all thanks to Lee. Unbelievable, right? So a few weeks ago, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer it, but something told me to pick up. And it was Lee. I was surprised, to say the least. I haven't spoken to her since the divorce, and I definitely wasn't expecting her to reach out. She sounded different, hesitant, nervous, almost scared. She asked if we could meet just for coffee to talk. I was reluctant at first. I didn't really see the point, but curiosity got the better of me and I agreed. We met at a neutral coffee shop and it was awkward, to say the least. She looked rough, tired, pale, like she hadn't been sleeping well. She started talking right away, her voice trembling. She said she needed my help. My help. After everything she put me through. I was skeptical, to say the least, but I listened. And what she told me, well, it was shocking. Apparently, things had gone from bad to worse for her and Kevin. After he ghosted her, she was completely alone. She lost her friends, her social circle, her sense of self-worth. And then she lost her job. Apparently, word got around about her affair and her employer wasn't too happy about it. They didn't explicitly say it was because of the affair, but it was pretty clear that was the reason. So she was unemployed, friendless, and alone. And then she found out she was pregnant with Kevin's baby. Oh, the irony. The universe has a twisted sense of humor, doesn't it, Reddit? And Kevin. Well, he was less than thrilled about the baby news. He basically told her to get an abortion, that he wanted nothing to do with her or the baby. He was a real stand-up guy, as you can imagine. So Lee was pregnant, alone, jobless, and abandoned by her cheating boyfriend. And that's when she decided to reach out to me. She said she was desperate, that she didn't know what else to do. She asked if I would take her back. Take her back. Are you kidding me? After everything, after the betrayal, the lies, the pain. She actually thought I would take her back. I almost laughed in her face. But then I realized this was my chance for revenge. Not violent revenge, not angry revenge, but sweet revenge, subtle revenge, Reddit revenge. I played it cool. I acted like I was considering it. I told her I needed time to think, that I wasn't sure if I could ever trust her again. But I also hinted that, maybe, just maybe, there was a chance, if she was truly sorry. If she was willing to do anything to win me back. And she ate it up. She was so desperate, so vulnerable, that she would have agreed to anything. She begged me, pleaded with me, promised me the moon and the stars. She said she would do anything I wanted, anything at all, if I would just give her another chance. And that's when I knew, this was it. My revenge plan was forming in my mind, and it was going to be glorious. So I told Lee, okay, maybe, just maybe, we could talk about it. But first, there were a few things she needed to do. A few tests of her loyalty, of her commitment. I told her I needed to be sure that she was truly sorry, that she would never betray me again. And she agreed. She agreed to anything. She was like putty in my hands, and I started testing her. Small things at first, asking her to do favors for me, errands, tasks, nothing too crazy, just inconvenient. Making her jump through hoops, making her work for my maybe. And she did it. She did everything I asked, without question, without complaint. She was so desperate for my approval, for my forgiveness, that she was willing to do anything. It was pathetic, but also empowering. To see her so humbled, so desperate after everything she had done to me. And then I started to escalate things. I started asking for bigger favors, more demanding tasks. I asked her to do things that were humiliating. Things that made her uncomfortable, things that chipped away at her dignity, and she still did it. She still jumped through my hoops, desperate for my approval, for my forgiveness. And you know what, Reddit? It was satisfying, really satisfying. To see her grovel, to see her debase herself after everything she had put me through. It was like poetic justice, karma in action. I never actually intended to take her back, of course. That was never the plan. My plan was always revenge, to make her suffer, to make her feel a fraction of the pain she had caused me, and it was working, beautifully. I kept stringing her along for weeks, making her do more and more humiliating tasks, always hinting that maybe, just maybe, there was a chance of reconciliation. And she kept doing it, kept hoping, kept debasing herself. And then finally I decided it was time to end the game, time for the final act of my revenge. I called Lee and told her I had made my decision. I told her I was ready to give her another chance. She was ecstatic. Overjoyed. She started crying, thanking me, promising me that she would never hurt me again. I told her to meet me at the same coffee shop the next day. I said we would talk about our future, about how we were going to rebuild our relationship. She was so excited she could barely contain herself. The next day we met at the coffee shop. She was dressed up, she had done her hair and makeup, she looked hopeful, pathetic but hopeful. I sat down across from her and I looked at her, really looked at her. And I saw not the woman I once loved, but a broken, desperate, pathetic person. A person who had betrayed me, lied to me, and caused me immense pain. And then I smiled. A cold, hard, Reddit revenge smile. And I said, Lee, I've made my decision. And the answer is no. Her face fell, her smile vanished, her eyes widened in disbelief. No, she stammered. But you said there was a chance. There was a chance, I said, my voice cold and hard. A chance for you to prove to me how sorry you were. A chance for you to pay for what you did. And you did, you proved it, you paid for it. And now it's over. Tears started streaming down her face. But what about the baby? She cried, what am I going to do? I need you, Daniel. Please don't do this to me. You should have thought about that before you cheated on me, Lee, I said, my voice still cold and hard. You made your choices, and now you have to live with the consequences. And frankly, I don't care what happens to you or your baby. You are no longer my problem. I stood up, turned around, and walked away, leaving her there sobbing at the coffee shop table. And Reddit, it felt amazing, truly amazing. Sweet, sweet revenge, so that's the end of the story. Lee is alone, pregnant, jobless, and miserable. Kevin is a pariah, and me, I'm free, I'm happy, I'm moving on. And it's all thanks to Reddit and a little bit of sweet, sweet revenge. So Reddit, AITAH, for getting revenge on my cheating wife like this. Or did she deserve everything she got? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.